Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Calvert, and a very warm welcome to the Financial Advisor Mastermind and Challenge. Throughout this week, advisors, leading experts, and consultants to the financial planning profession are sharing amazing insights into just what makes a world-class financial advice business. Today, I'm delighted to be speaking with someone who's a rising star within the profession. He's the founder and director of Finalytic, described as a vibrant, irreverent, and evidence-based research company working with financial planners and providers to improve client outcomes. He's also the creator of the Science of Retirement Conference. And adding to all that, he's an extremely nice bloke as well. Welcome, Mr. Abraham Okusanya. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Phil. Wow, that is such an incredible introduction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wrote it. Usually the guests do the writing.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. Means a lot. And thanks for having me on the show. I see an incredible lineup that you've got, and it's great to be in this group. Thank
It's
you.
fantastic. Well, it's great to have you. You're certainly in with the cool kids. So for the benefit of people who don't really know you, tell us a bit about your backstory and how you came to be doing what you are today.
Anyone who doesn't know me, are they living under the rock? um, no, seriously. Yes, I run a research consultancy, Finalytic, and essentially we work with advisors on research around investment and retirement planning. And I am the founder of Timeline, which is a software used by financial advisors. Background, how far back do you want to go? I think like most people, I grew up obviously knowing nothing about financial services. Growing up, I had three career options that my parents impressed upon me. I could be a doctor, a lawyer, or a disgrace to the family. So invariably, I chose the third option. But I stumbled into financial services at uni. I came across a book. You might know this, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A book by Robert Kiyosaki, and I decided that actually I'm going to learn a bit more about money and how the financial world works. And I self-funded my very first financial service exams, and ultimately found myself within the retail investment division of a large bank. Did that for a number of years, and ultimately worked within the IFA industry and set up the consultancy firm. So
yeah. Fantastic. Well, you're known as someone who's got real passion and enthusiasm for what you do. Tell us a bit about what your company actually does. We know about the time. We'll talk about the Timeline app in a minute because that's absolutely fascinating. But what sort of work do you do?
Yeah, so a bulk of our work revolves around working with advisors on their investment and retirement proposition. We know that there's been a massive way since RDR. There's been a massive shift from advisors to take control of the investment process, and the regulators demanding more and more in terms of just the level of research that you have to do, because the industry has gotten, frankly, very, very, very complicated. And so what we do is we are that research department that advisors can count on anything to do with their investment process, model portfolio, due diligence, platform selection, all of this, if you like, grunt work that you have to do, and frankly they're not particularly inspiring. I think we find that a lot of advisors will prefer spending time with their clients, understanding the problems, the challenges that they have to deal with in their lives, and if you like, the product side of things, or whatever portfolio they end up in, is it's essentially secondary. It's important, it's crucial, but it's far more important to spend time with the client. And vast majority of firms that we work with are small. They just don't have the time, the effort, and perhaps the specialist expertise that you need to to deal with that, all that stuff. So we do it.
Fantastic. So a lot of data involved, but it goes beyond just the data and the grunt work. I think it as far as I understand, that your software also helps people to make kind of decisions as well. One thing I saw, it shows people how to stop clients from losing their nerve when the markets are going the wrong way.
Absolutely. I think the fundamental thing is that, you know, the especially when it comes to the retirement end of the journey, the myriads of decisions that you have to make about the asset allocation, about the withdrawal, what asset class to take the withdrawal from, what what level of withdrawal is sustainable, how do you get client to understand this stuff. I think that we can underplay the significance of the change that George Osborne made to our pension landscape. But the way I describe it is that when he changed the pension system back in 2014, introduced pension freedom, he changed that from an environment where you can describe it as a safety first world, where it didn't matter much what you do. There were rules and regulation in place to ensure that you couldn't run out of money.
Mm.
We're now in a world where you can describe it as a world design to ensure that people screw themselves over, because there are just so many decisions that you have to make if you're going into a drawdown, to ensure that the pot of money lasts a lifetime. So our software is designed to help advisors and their clients make these informed decisions, prepare for the unavoidable declines, temporary as they might be, that you have in the capital market, and be in an informed position around what they're going to do to make sure that the pot of money does not run out.
It's really interesting. I was talking to a financial advisor the other day who was saying one of the things he likes about your software is that although we're dealing with data here, it fundamentally also gets to the heart of how people feel about money and also their behaviors. This is something we're exploring with Carl Richards as well. Was that something you planned might come out of it?
Oh, absolutely. So there's a lot of data, but data is boring. You have to find a way to bring data to life. There's a big theme in financial services right now, and the theme is behavioral coaching. In other words, how do we transform data in a way that informs decision making, and avoids prevents clients from losing their nerves when crap hits the fans. How do we prepare them? How do we anchor them, for these inevitable declines in the market, in the capital market? And how do we tune out the noise? And you're right, that's one of the great use of our software. I was talking to another advisor. They emailed me actually, and they said, well, when Davos was going on, a client sent them an email about somebody who's made some sort of predictions about the capital market, and suggested that the market's going to crash and this and that and the other is going to happen. And they just played back the conversation they've had with the clients using, that they've used our software, and they said, well, I don't know if this person is going to be right or wrong, but here's the thing: we've stress tested your retirement plan, your withdrawal plan through 120 years of capital market data. That data includes World War I, World War II, the Great Depression of 1929, aggressive inflation of 1960s, double-digit inflation we're talking about, including the most recent market, crisis, 1970 72, for instance, 72, 73, the UK stock market, the FTSE All Share Index declined by 67 freaking percent. We've stress tested your plan through all of these kind of market declines, and we've come up with a plan that would survive most of these scenarios. Okay, I don't know if this person is going to be right, but even if market declines massively, we have a high degree of confidence that you're going to be okay. So, Mr. Client, enjoy the entertainment of listening to this person, pontificate about what's going to happen in the future. That's not the business we're in. We know that your plan will survive a wide range of market condition. All you have to do is to stay the course, and unless something is changed massively in your life, in your family, as far as your goals, your aspiration, your desire is concerned, we don't need to change anything as far as your portfolio is concerned. So that's the philosophy that we've adopted in building the software.
Yeah. Do you think, sounds slightly unfair question, do you think financial planners and their clients make better decisions today than they did before we had this kind of technology? I mean, I remember a day when, you relied on the back pages of Money Management magazine, and a provider would give you a few charts and stuff like that. That there is a lot of human emotion goes into this. Do you think we're doing it better now? I mean, I hope we are.
Well, the way I like to answer that question is that the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed, in the sense that there is actually the danger that all these data, readily available right now, the social media, we can share all of this stuff, can actually be quite dangerous to our decision making, and especially if you listen to the sirens of asset managers and consultants, and people trying to bamboozle you to making, and journalists, frankly, the media, trying to bamboozle you to make emotional charged decisions. I think there's a danger that actually we're certainly in an environment that encourages bad behavior than we've previously been. Having said that, it is possible. We're doing this, and I'm sure that there are many other people in the profession doing this. Carl Richards. It is possible to use technology to our advantage and to organize information in a way that is far more meaningful. We just have to be aware of our behavioral biases. And so, to answer your question, are we doing it better? I don't, I think the technology is out there, the resources is out there. Whether or not the advisor community are adopting that is a different question. I have to be honest. I think that the profession, the advice profession in general, is very, very slow when it comes to adopting technology, and that's something that's got to change.
That's fascinating. You should say that. Only today I saw in our Facebook group a photo. I think it was Brian Hill. Posted a picture of a big old pile of files.
I saw it too.
And he slightly tongue-in-cheek was saying, how can this still be happening in this day and age?
I saw it too. I mean, I think, in this age of, CRMs, technology, data, what is it? Voice controlled speakers, but also voice controlled note taking. You can take notes in your pens and things like that. We are still living in a world where every time I go into an advisor's office, and I see not everyone, but and I see piles of paper, and you just wonder how can frankly, some people still live in this world, but sadly, it's still very much the world that some people people do. And it's very difficult. I accept that it's very difficult. When we, started our firm, we started with with the thinking we want to have a paperless office. But then we get providers send us something in the post, and we're thinking, well, you could just send emails. So I accept that there is the part of the financial service industry, so the provider end of the spectrum, that's, no matter how hard you try, they still force you down that route of paper, and they're not very technology friendly. But frankly, it's a challenge that I think advisors face. You either adopt technology. We have this conversation about whether technology is going to take over the world, whether it's going to make an advisor's job redundant. I think that is, as far as I'm concerned, really a stupid question. The difference isn't the difference isn't going to be between advisors. The battle isn't going to be advisors versus technology.
Yeah.
It's advisors using technology versus the ones who don't. Advisor adopting technologies versus the ones who don't. That's really where the battle is.
It's really fascinating, because there are some financial advice firms, and I'm thinking Positive Solutions here, who have not seen a piece of paper in, years and years and years. So it's perfectly feasible.
It is, definitely.
So when you visit financial advisors in their offices and you see them using, say, your technology, have any of them taken you by surprise in terms of how they're using it? What sort of best practices are you seeing? And have you seen anybody use it in a way that you really weren't expecting?
Yes, I think some of the things that I've seen that amazed me is how advisors use the technology to have conversations with clients around risk. Okay, and a friend of mine, I'm sure you know him very well, Justin King.
Yep.
Demonstrated how he used the software to have this conversation with clients about risk. And so Justin's approach was to say, well, if a client comes in and I give them the risk profiling question, for instance, and they complete that risk profiling question, and it comes out, the result comes out invariably as cautiously greedy. So they don't want to take risk, or not too much of it. And so Justin goes to our software and he says, well, if I create a portfolio for you that is cautious, which invariably means that it's going to have less equity content and more bonds and maybe properties and cash, if I create this portfolio based on what you want to do, you have £1 million portfolio, you want to take out, let's say, 500 grand a year, £50,000 a year from that portfolio. What are the chances of success? The software will show you that actually, you have, say, 20 out of 100 scenarios that you would actually make it. The other 80 out of 100 scenarios, you would run out of money. Why? Because intuitively, we know that equities do better than bonds in the long run, but people tend to fear equities. They tend to, they tend to want to avoid the volatility, the up and down movement of equities, and so he shows the client this, and he says, well, let's have a conversation about what risk really means. It's not the daily movement of the stock market that should be your worry, i.e., volatility. Risk is really about running out of money before you run out of time. Risk is really about not leaving the type of legacy that you want to leave to your family. And Justin says, well, what if we get you to a point where, rather than having 40% equities in your portfolio, you have 60, maybe 65, maybe even 70% equity in your portfolio? What does that tell us? Can we illustrate that? And again, he changes the portfolio, at the click of a button, and shows the client and says, well, this is based on 120 years of data, and I've explored some of the most severe market conditions known to man within that scenario at the click of a button without having to input anything, and we increase your chances of success from 20% to 80 or whatever, and for me, the first time he showed me that, he actually did show me and say, this is how I have that conversation with clients. We change the meaning of risk from daily obsession about volatility and market movement to what actually matters to the client, which is not running out of money, living the kind of legacy that they want to. And I say to Justin, well, what do you do if you can't convince the client still about this? And Justin says to me, I respected any financial advisor who can do this. He says, I'm not going to participate in this. If we're going to start a journey that's going to, with a high probability of running out of money, I'm not going to be part of it, or that wouldn't leave the kind of legacy that you want to leave to your children. I'm not going to be part of this. So, Mr. Client, you have three options. Obviously, increase the equity content in the portfolio, spend less, or just die sooner. you know and that's the kind of rich conversations that I've seen advisors have with clients.
Yeah, that's lovely. Now, you also look at the platform side of things as well. You were author of the Guide to Platform Profitability a few years ago.
Yeah.
What's your kind of assessment of the platform world right now? Is it in the right place? And where's it going?
Yeah, so we do this every year. We publish a report on platforms where we look at the players, and our focus is kind of different than what you would typically see in the industry, which is people looking at things like fees, and functionality. We look at systemic issues for platforms. By that I mean, profitability. Are they profitable? Sustainability. Are they running their business in a way that they're going to be around, 5, maybe 10 years time? Um, you know, are there core technology issues that they have to deal with, and what does that mean for their future? And what we've seen in the sort of 5 years that we've been running this is that firms who can't, who for whatever reason aren't running profitable operations, aren't investing in technology, or are struggling with their technology, operations, eventually they get sold, and it all goes pear-shaped. Case in point will be co-funds, for instance, Alliance Trust. Many of these platforms, have frankly fallen by the wayside, and again, some of the life core platforms, and so there's two distinct cohorts of platforms. On one hand, you have platforms who are profitable, who have sound, technology to support their operations, and they're making their own way in the world. Transact, AJ Bell, Nucleus, these platforms, all of these ones that I mentioned, they've gone public in the last, in the last year or so, and some of them have literally doubled in value. I looked at the valuation of AJ Bell last night, just even, and just incredible rise in the 6 month or so that they went on the capital market, and compare that to some of the life core platforms. Aviva, co-funds being bought out, and these platforms are frankly just ATS is, as far as I'm concerned, dead. And again, this was something that we looked at as far as, and we said as far back as 5 years ago, and we said the way these platforms are running, they just cannot. I cannot see how they survive, even if they have parents with very deep pockets. That's not the issue. Is the business being run in a way that is sustainable, and that is fit for the future? And I think that advisors, frankly, who ignored us at the time, many of them, and are having themselves to blame right now. Every time we see a client and they say, oh, now we have issues with our platforms, and I just sort of smile without rubbing it in their face to say, well, we said this to you, 5 years ago. Look where we are now.
Yeah.
It's a shame that advisors are having to pick up um, the tab because frankly, the administrative costs to your business of a platform that isn't working, is just, as far as I'm concerned, untenable.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole technology piece is absolutely fascinating. We'd love to have a crystal ball as to where this all is all going, and we have to just touch on Robo again. You made
Yes.
some very interesting observations about how some of the robos are, which are there to kind of replace humans, are in themselves becoming more human.
Yes, absolutely, and we've seen So the robo advisor technology wave is about 10 years old now. It started out in the US, and let's give it to the robos. They've done incredible things. They've shown us that we can basically, bring down the cost of investing. By that, I mean things like, fund selection, asset allocation, rebalancing, the actual running of the funds themselves. Right now in the US, and, you can buy that for 25 basis points. Okay, and robos have shown us that you can systematize all these things. You can codify the process, the entire investment process. You can do it. You can bring in great user experience to clients in
Yeah.
simple, elegant design. You can do it. um, what they haven't managed to crack is, how do you deliver holistic advice to clients that's beyond just portfolio? Because the portfolio, as I said earlier, is just really a small part of the jigsaw. How do you take account of all of the things going on in their lives to actually come up with the right recommendations? And what we're seeing right now is that the robos are becoming humans. We said that the human advisor does need robo, but actually the robos do need human advisors. And in the US, the likes of Wealthfront and Betterment, they're doubling down on either their relationship with advisors, or they're offering some kind of access to humans within their operation. Here in the UK, we're seeing the likes of eVesta, which is actually human and technology advice business. We have seen Wealth Wizard, which is again human and technology. And then of course we're even Nutmeg is going down the route of wanting to offer human advisor. Obviously, all of these things can be supported by technology, and therein lies the threat to the human advisor. Vanguard, for instance, has something in the US called the VPAS, so Vanguard Personal Advisory Service, where you can have access to shiny technology that builds your portfolio and does all these things, but actually you can also have access to a certified financial planner and speak to them about your life, and they'll build a small, maybe not massively comprehensive plan, but a meaningful plan. They'll talk you through things when markets are iffy and all those stuff. And guess what? You can get access to all of that for 30 basis points. 30 basis point. And so, the challenge for the human advisor, to my mind, isn't, technology taking over what your client or your business. To me, the challenge is, how do we do what robos have done, but in reverse? We got the human relationship. Clients trust us. As a matter of fact, there is research to show that even the so-called millennials, of which I am a senior member of, this I have five 20-something-year-olds in the office, and you wouldn't believe it, how different we are as far as our perspective is concerned. And everybody, every time someone says to me, "Oh, we're all millennials," I'm thinking like, no, like we might be in the same age cohort, but actually, our perception, our needs and desires are different. But the point I'm making is that even the so-called millennials millennials, there's research that shows that actually something like 60% of them want to talk to humans when it comes to their money, when it comes to, the interaction of money and life. So the challenge isn't that robots will, take over an advisor's business. The challenge is simply that firms who use technology well, and to be honest, all of these things that we do in the back end, by that I mean asset allocation, fund picking, rebalancing, your client storing client information, even contacting and speaking communications with client. All of these things can be and should be automated. If you're running an advice firm, you need to double down on technology. Yes, you will make mistakes along the way, but not using technology is just not an option. It's not. If you're gonna be around, in and running a thriving business in 5-10 years time.
There is some amazing technology, and not all of it is advisor focused, and not all of it is as full on as Robo. I came across the most incredible app called Moneybox app.
Right.
And the idea is you connect it to your bank account, and if I go down to the shops today and I spend £10.20 on something, it rounds it up to £11. So the 80p goes straight into a savings account. Without me even knowing about it. How sensible and clever and cool is that? Super simple.
Absolutely. But look at the one we're using right now, Zoom, a video communication device. This gone are those days when advisors think that your client's got to drive, I don't know, half an hour, an hour to come to your office. And if you're in places like London, of course, the hassle it takes to get to your office, or you've got to do that, i.e. drive to their homes to meet them, and they're not quite ready, and the technology, the presentation that you want to do isn't quite, if you're meeting clients at home. Right now, I can literally touch you, like, I can see your facial expression and all that stuff. And so, we've used this simple technology, and I can't remember. I don't know. It costs £20 a month or something like that, just for client meetings. So using video, for instance, for client meetings, I'm not saying eliminate human, flesh to flesh interaction completely, but if you're meeting clients, twice a year or once a year, maybe every other year, we say, well, actually, you can come to the office, but actually most of the meetings we can do online. So there are just so every firm's got to think carefully and creatively about their technology stack, and do not, our approach within our business is that, if it means that we have to spend 5% of our revenue. I mean, frankly, we spend more than that, because we are, if we look at our technology, operations, the timeline business, we are spending, 50-60% of our budget on just building stuff. Now, I'm not saying that an advisor has got to do that. If you're running an advice business, maybe even if it's 5% or 10 of your cost base should be spent, frankly, invested in using technology to lower cost and improve client experience, because clients are getting this experience in other spheres of their lives. They're using Zoom with their grandchildren and video chat with their grandchildren or their children. Why not the financial advisor? Why not their financial advisor?
Yeah, well, it's good to see that it's on the increase. I must ask you about this wonderful conference that you run, the Science of Retirement Conference, which has the most fantastic reviews. For those people who've not been to one before, tell us a bit about it.
Yes, so the Science of Retirement Conference is just really saying, it's just really, a conference that we put together every year. This year, we're expecting over 300 financial advisors at the amazing Science Museum in London. And it's just really going to be an incredible day. But we do this every year. This is our fifth one. And essentially, what we're doing with this conference is that we're moving away from the traditional, financial service conference where providers pay to speak, and the content is heavily, biased towards product. In this conference, we're thinking about strategies, ideas. Some of the we're spending half the day on technical stuff. I.e., by that I mean, how working out sustainable withdrawal framework. Bringing technology to the client's conversation. Where we're spending on technical stuff, but actually, conversation around longevity, portfolio, all that stuff. But the other half of the day we're spending on the art of retirement planning. By that, these ideas around coaching, around happiness in retirement, psychology of happiness in retirement, what makes people happy in retirement. And you will be surprised, very little to do with money. Why do some people consider their retirement a failure? It's a massive mental and emotional shift from spending 30 years of your life working, building a business, to whatever it is that you did, to a second or third phase of life where you might not be doing that. There are massive identity issues for people in retirement. Who am I now? Is the question that many people will go into retirement will be asking. So we're putting together this conference to address those issues, and we are, frankly, bringing the best people in in their field. We got Nick Murray, who's just a legend when it comes to behavioral counseling for clients. This guy I think is 80 this year, and he's been in the industry 60 years. He's seen it all. So he's speaking. We have a professor from Cambridge, Professor Elroy Dimson, again, speaking at the conference. So for me, just an incredible lineup, a great venue, and totally an experience not to be missed. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. And just to kind of wrap up, I mean, talking about big names and legends, you blogged recently about the death of Jack Bogle.
Yes.
It meant quite a lot to you in your life, didn't he?
Absolutely. I think Jack, is just an incredible human being. This guy, had his first heart attack at age 30, 31, something like that. Went on to have 5 more heart attacks before he turned 65. He had a heart transplant at 65. And for 20 more years, Saint Jack Bogle went on just fighting the good fight for investors. He's known as the creator of the very first index fund. Jack Bogle chose to make a difference rather than making money. And so, the reason is that I've never met the man, but reading his work, the reason is that so much influence on my life as well as many investors. It's just because he chose it in a financial service environment where, frankly, a significant proportion of the asset management industry is not adding anything and taking so much away from investors. Jack chose to make a difference in creating Vanguard, and just the kind of person in the face of incredible opposition. He was steadfast, he was consistent, and he fought the good fight, frankly, to his last day. So I have huge respect for this man. I think everyone in financial service, if you're an advisor, and frankly, if you're an investor, you ought to know who Jack Bogle is, because chances are he's made a difference on how you invest today.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap up, let's kind of look at the world of financial planning today, certainly in the UK. Is it in a good place?
I think we're in a good place. Yes, we're certainly in a better place than we've ever been, So yes, it is. I think that, as I said before, technology is changing the way we deliver advice. um, you know, Clients value advice. They do more than ever before. People, if you just look at what's happened around pension freedoms, for instance, people are there's recognition that we have, people need advice and they're prepared to pay for it. Advisors have never had it better. Advisors have been unshackled from the bondage of, the product provider. Their fees, the way they work, are no longer dictated by providers. Advisors make their own decisions about their fees, what they can charge for their, or they're in control of that. There are still part of the profession and the wider industry that needs improvement. But no, I am bullish on advice. I am definitely bullish on advice.
Fantastic. We won't talk about marketing. We've talked about that quite a lot with other firms, but I have to take my hat off to you, who managed to create one of the finest pieces of marketing that any supplier or provider can do, in that you've managed to get so many advisors to have that chart behind you on their wall. There was a time I've been into IFA's offices and seen Led Zeppelin posters and inspiring quotes from Kiyosaki and others, and you managed to get them to put a dirty great big graph on their walls.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for saying that. I mean, I am of that philosophy. We have that philosophy within the firm to say that data is good, but can we make it look good? Can we make it pretty? Can we make it nice? Can we make it, something that's easier for people to engage with and something that draws a little bit of attention? And I think, the chart does that really well. So yeah, thank you.
Great talking point. Great talking point. So Abraham, we've been asking everybody we've been talking to if they can set some sort of challenge to our viewers, something that they could maybe take on over the coming days or year or whatever. What would be your challenge for our advisors watching this?
So my challenge for advisors will be to do one thing in the next year: take a trip to the US to something called the T3 Advisor Conference. This is a technology conference for financial advisor. I was in Dallas, a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. We attended this conference. Just see how massive technology is across the pond. Listen to speakers talk about advisors talk about what they're doing in their firms. Walk the amazing exhibit hall and see, I think, close to 50, maybe 100 technology firms showing what, the amazing kit that they're creating. Everything from portfolio management, behavioral coaching, content marketing, financial planning, retirement has been codified into a piece of kit. Just walk that all and be inspired by what's happening. And this conference is specifically for financial advisor, not a generic technology conference. It's a technology for today's advisor conference. So that will be my challenge. I think the next one is in California somewhere. I can't remember. It's in February of 2020. Take a trip and be inspired.
Fantastic. That's the T3 conference.
T3 Advisor Conference. Yes, they have two. They have an enterprise version, which is for large firms. The next enterprise version is in October, November, and then in February of next year, they'll have the next Advisor Technology Conference. Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That's a great challenge, and you get a bit of a holiday in with it as well, which is
absolutely super. Yeah. Take the family for a week. Yes.
Yeah, great idea, Abraham. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate your time. If people want to talk to you, find out more about what you do, where can they find you?
If you don't mind your blood pressure being tampered with from time to time, probably Twitter. I'm on Twitter. My handle is Abraham on Money. So yeah, if you follow me there, and that leads to all the other stuff that we've got going. If you're not on Twitter, oh God, Yeah, someone not. Yeah, if you're not on Twitter, then our website, which is finalytic.co.uk. It's finalytic.co.uk.
Great stuff. Abraham, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you to everybody for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been some great insights from Abraham. You'll have the opportunity now to join a private forum where you can take up Abraham's challenge and everybody else's, find accountability partners and report back on how you are getting on. So once again, thank you so much to Abraham, and we'll see everybody on the next video. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you very much.